Well, hey kiddos, we're back with part 2 of our goats lesson. So, you remember the last lesson, we read a story about goats. It was a nonfiction story, which means it was true facts. And when we were finished with it, we charted down some of the facts that we learned. For example, we learned that goats eat hay, grain, grass, plants, and they chew their cud. They have short legs, short tails, beards. Some have short curly hair, and some have short, coarse, or rough hair. Farmers raise goats for their milk, their wool, and their meat. And some other interesting facts that we learned that some goats can jump 5 feet high. And we learned that there are fainting goats, and those are goats that stiffen up and then fall over. So today I have a new story, a nonfiction story about goats. So we're going to read that story, and then we're going to chart some facts that maybe aren't on our chart already. All right, so let's get started. Hey kiddos. So our story today is called Goats, and the author of this story is actually me. It's Mrs. Hess. So these were facts that I learned from reading other books, and then I took those facts and put them in a book about goats. All right? So, goats are mammals. They have 4 legs and split hooves. See how their hooves are split? There's 2 parts to them. They have shaggy hair on their body. Many goats have beards under their chins. Some have floppy ears, and some have ears that stand up. They have small mouths and flexible lips, which means that their lips can move around very easily. Female goats, those are the girl goats. Female goats are called doe, or they're called a nanny. Male goats, that's the boys, are called a buck or a billy. And baby goats are called kids, just like you. Mother goats have babies twice a year, and they're very protective of their kids. Mother goats can make 3 to 6 quarts of milk a day. Goats are very good jumpers. Farmers have to make special fences and pens for goats, and those have to be high enough to keep them inside so they don't jump out. Goats eat plants, trees, shrubs, hay, grass, and grains. In fact, goats are known to eat anything. They are so curious they will even try to eat cardboard, tin cans, or even clothing. Goats do need to drink water. Goats have 4-part stomachs. Food can be stored in their stomachs and then re-chewed later. They are related to sheep and cows, and they live in groups called herds. Farmers raise goats for their milk. It can be turned into cheese. Have you ever had goat cheese? I like it on my salad. They are raised for their coats, which can be made into blankets and clothing. They are also raised for their meat, and some goats are raised just as pets. Goats live all over the world. Wild goats live in high, rocky places. And you'll notice that those wild goats have horns. Look at those horns. One good thing about goats is that for people who are allergic to cow's milk, they're actually able to drink goat's milk. One bad thing about goats is that they can destroy trees by eating the bark off of it. All right, so there's our story about goats. So I think there's some facts in here that we can go ahead and add to our chart that we didn't learn yesterday. All right, so if we take a look up here, what kind of animals are goats? What kind of animals are they? Are they amphibians? Are they birds? Go ahead and tell me what you think they are. They're mammals. All right, goats are mammals, okay? So do you remember from the story, it told us what the mother goats were called, okay? Do you remember what they were? So the female or mother goat was called a nanny or a doe, okay? The father goat, if you can think back, the father goat was called a buck or a billy. I bet you remember what the baby was called. Go ahead and tell me if you remember what it was. Remember, it was just like you. A baby goat was called a kid. Very good. All right. So we talked about the things that they eat. Was there anything else that we wanted to add on there? Do you remember they said that goats can eat almost anything, right? Eat almost anything, right? Okay. What did they need though? And when they're eating all of this, they needed to have what? They need to drink water. Do you remember when we were in school we learned the scientific way to write water? Remember what it was? It was H2O. There you go. All right, so how about their body? What else could we add about their body? Do you remember? Was there anything else? Some had floppy ears, right? Some had, whoops, we need two P's there, sorry. Some of them also had ears that stood up more, stand-up ears. Wild ones had horns, right? Wild ones had horns. The big curly ones, right? Okay. They have a 4-part stomach. Cows also have a 4-part stomach. Okay. So why are they raised? Well, we said before they're raised for their milk. Do you remember what else farmers made from their milk besides being able to have milk that people could drink? Do you remember what they turned that milk into? Go ahead and tell me if you remember. Let's see if you were right. Did you say cheese? Mm-hmm. And they raised them for their wool. Do you remember what they could make from their wool? I can think of 2 things. Can you think of one? Let's see if you had one of the ones that I'm writing down. I wrote clothes and blankets. All right. They're raised for their meat. And we said that sometimes goats are even raised as a what? A pet, right? You could even have them as a pet. All right, so let's go down to the interesting facts. So they live in herds. That's the group, right? A group of goats is called a herd. Okay. Who are they related to? What other 2 animals are they related to? Do you remember? Cows and sheep. Okay. Let's see. Do you remember an interesting thing I thought was something having to do with their milk? Do you remember? Can you tell me? So if someone is allergic to cow's milk, they can drink goat's milk. All right, let's see if I can think of one more thing. Can you think of something else? Did you think of something? All right, I'm going to write one more thing. They can, and it was something we said that might be bad, they can destroy trees because they eat all of the bark off of trees if they can get at those trees. All right, so we added a lot of great information today. So the next time we get together and we talk about goats, I'm going to show you how to take some of this information and put it into your own nonfiction story like I did with mine. All right, so stay tuned and we'll see you again soon.